Hey there everyone, my name is Tristan Bramlett. I'm about to go into my second year at McGill University, and Mr. Vogel asked me to come here today to talk about my experience with MHHF and what it's meant to me. So pretty much since I was about as young as I can remember, my dad would go away for a few days every December with his friends. My mom would tell me he'd be out getting birds for us to come, or for him to bring back and eat. And as I got older, I heard more and more about his hunting experiences, and I've probably heard the story about him getting two ducks with one shot is more times than I can count, really. And elementary school me was just thrilled with these stories and always wanted to go hunting with him. And I begged and begged and begged, and finally, when I was in the 5th grade, at the ripe young age of 10, he finally agreed to take me out with him. But there was a caveat. I first had to learn how to conduct myself around a firearm, which, to a naive 10-year-old didn't really mean much, especially because I didn't know what the word firearm meant. I just wanted to catch some ducks, really. So that's where our mutual friend Lee Vogel comes in. My dad had been friends with Lee for years at this point, and he decided to take me out to one of the MHHF hunter education clinics with him, and we'd have a good time, and I'd learn how to hunt. And I was frustrated at first when I showed up to the clinic because I thought I'd be missing school to come do this, but instead I found myself in a classroom. But after some convincing, I finally came around to the idea. And when I first showed up, I was a little bit intimidated because, as a 10-year-old in 5th grade, I really wasn't expecting middle schoolers to be there. So hanging out with the 14-year-olds was, I wouldn't say a culture shock, but I did feel intimidated being the youngest one there by a couple of years at least. Especially because I'd be learning the ropes with all these middle schoolers. But I distinctly remember going through the textbook with all the other kids and all the instructors, Lee, Jack, Alan, and I remember learning about the proper ways to hold a firearm and to always, always, always point the muzzle in a safe direction. And I finally understood what the word firearm meant. Soon after the classroom, we went to the firing range, and I finally get my first opportunity to shoot. Instead of using the youth 20 gauge shotgun that the clinic provided, my dad wanted me to use the brand new Weatherby he had just bought me. And of course, this probably wasn't a great idea for a 10-year-old. In hindsight, it was a little too big. But it is what it is. And the first shot I took kind of threw me for a loop, and the force in my shoulder really hurt. And as the older kids took turns firing successfully, I remember went off to the side, and I was embarrassed and cried a little bit because of the pain in my arm. 10-year-old me couldn't handle the Weatherby. And, but after a little pep talk and switching to the lighter firearm, I was able to get the hang of it. And the next day, we were finally supposed to go hunting, something I'd been eager to do for years at this point. And each father-son duo was sent out with an instructor to a separate blind at Sunset Lodge, and we went out with Lee to the hay bale blind. And I remember I even got to help set up the decoys. And now all we had to do was wait for the birds to fly. And I remember as time went on, I'd impatiently ask about every 20 minutes when the ducks were supposed to come. And alas, they never came. But as the expression goes, if hunting was easy, it'd be called getting. We eventually met back up at the cabin and shared sodas and hot dogs over a campfire. And I remember hanging out with the middle schoolers who I was so intimidated by just a couple days before, and now we were just laughing, having a good time. Although we didn't get any ducks that day, I walked away learning some valuable lessons, not only about hunting, but about life. 2 years later, I finally got my first duck, and I'm happy to say that I'm lucky enough to go hunting each December with family and friends. And the clinic exposed me to hunting, and because of that, I've been able to create memories that have lasted a lifetime and will continue to do so. And although my dad's passed away, some of my fondest memories with him are from our times we spent hunting and in the blind. And the picture on my nightstand in my apartment in Montreal is of my dad and I with my first duck. And thanks to the clinic, I was properly able to learn how to have a good time in the blind and how to be a safe hunter, really. And I hope the kids in the future can take away even an ounce of what I was able to take away from the clinic. And I hope that one day, if I have kids, that I'll have the pleasure of taking them to an MHHF clinic.